Hello, I'm Kerry. I'm so grateful for this beautiful sunshine that we're having. I'm creating this video for you today because I'm coming to the end of my somatic experiencing training, and I feel like there's some real fundamentals of being human that I've learnt that just aren't widely known or available, and I feel like everybody should have access to this information and know like how to navigate their nervous system and understand what's going on, because there's so much of like, why is my body doing that? And so many times the answer has something to do with our nervous system, our instinctive survival system. So understanding that and how to communicate with it can make life a lot easier and more enjoyable. So I'm creating this video today to explain some of the kind of theory of that, and then it's also something you know in your body and you need an embodied experience of, and you might get a bit of that from this video, but I'm also doing in-person workshops and offer one-to-one sessions where you can get some more of that embodied understanding of what I'm trying to share. So some of what I might share might be a little bit activating for your system, so I'd like to invite you to start by just really checking out the present moment that you're in. So just take a bit of time just to like look around, notice what you can hear, feel the ground beneath you in whatever way you're on it, feel the air on your skin. Just really take a few moments to really let your body be, like, register this present moment that you're in. That'll really help your body to kind of hold anything that I have to share that might be a bit activating for you. And you can pause this video if you need longer, but I'm going to move on now. So, what I want to share about your nervous system is our instinctive survival system. So it's really tied up with life and death. It's the part of us that's programmed to keep us alive, and therefore, like in top trumps, it's the part that it takes priority in our bodies. It will override everything else because it's designed to keep us alive. So in an ideal world, we spend most of our time in regulation and in a state of feeling safe in our bodies and settled, and that can involve lots of energy, but we're feeling safe, we can hold it. And one of the kind of key features is that we have social engagement. We want to connect with other people, or if there's a challenge, we'll try and resolve it by talking to people or interacting with other people. So ideally that's where we want to spend a lot of our time. Unfortunately, many of us don't. But that's the kind of baseline, and that's ideally where we want to spend a lot of our time. So when our bodies sense that there's a danger, a life threat, our bodies mobilise loads of energy to keep us, to enable us to do what we need to stay alive. So that could be like fighting to defend ourselves, that could be running away, flight, could be what gets called fawn, so like actively engaging in kind of pacifying somebody else. So there's huge amounts of energy there, like massive amounts of energy. So that's our kind of first port of call of our bodies. But if that doesn't work, and our body determines, our nervous system reckons that that's not going to keep us alive and we need to escalate, then then we enter the wonderful world of freeze. That it's the origins of it is kind of like play dead, or like a rabbit in the headlights. You see them freeze, that's the first start. But then the next start is like a possum. You say it's like play dead, because many predators won't eat dead things. They like live prey, and it's the struggle that helps to activate their killing instinct. So it's a really good strategy. So what that feels like is, first it's a bracing. So you go into like freeze, but there's often lots of activation inside. But then if that stays, and as it escalates, so we can be at all different stages of this. As it escalates, we start to lose kind of sensation or connection or awareness to parts of our bodies, and we start to kind of psychologically dissociate, which means that we leave our bodies. So we leave our bodies, and we can get confused and disorientated, and we can even like black out completely. So different parts of our bodies can be in different states, and many of us have many parts of our bodies that are in a freeze state and not fully connected. And to the kind of the return process. So, in an ideal world, as a wild animal, once if your strategies have worked and you're able to escape or survive, then once the danger has passed, your body will recognise that, and you will come back out. And to come back out of the freeze state, you have to it kind of unfreezes and thaws, and there's still all the activation underneath, because all of that fight, flight, life, survival energy is still there. It's just been kind of contained. So as you come back out, all of that comes back up. And so wild animals, shake it off. You shake things off after you've had a shock. And then that allows you to come back and to settle and come back into your social engagement, stable safety system. That's what we would like to happen a lot of the time. Many times we don't. It gets stuck for one reason or another. But the journey of coming back, like so often as we come back into safety, or we might not even realise that's happening, but we feel more comfortable or something we really enjoy, many parts of us will start to come out of freeze, and so that we'll start to feel that activation underneath, and oftentimes that can feel too much and it tips us back into freeze. But we need to go through that activation in order to come back to settling, because it needs to be felt and expressed and released before we can complete that response. So why is it stuck? Many times we suppress. We've been taught to suppress a lot of the responses, so like shaking and trembling, or emotions, or things. It wasn't safe actually or we weren't allowed to encourage to express and release the shock after we've had the experience, and so they get stuck, so they're incomplete. And sometimes we get multiple ones on top of each other, or we're in ongoing challenge, like life-threatening situations. And a lot of these things that come up now in a situation that isn't actually a threat to your life, but for many of us these were laid down when we were really young. And when you're really young, you are completely reliant on your caregivers and the people around you to feed you and keep you safe. So you have a very different view of the world, and actually if you're not getting the attunement, feeling seen and paid attention to in the same way, your body interprets that as a potential life threat, because if you don't if someone's not attuning to you right, then you may well not survive. So that's often where this extreme level of response comes from, and we still hold that in our system, so it still comes out in kind of related situations where now there isn't that level of extreme risk in a literal threat to your life. So a little bit about navigating that. I mean, it's a big thing. So just a little taste. Part of what I do in my work, or what I encourage with people, is it's like strengthening the pathway back to the social engagement, to the safety and settledness. For many of us, it's not a very well worn path. Some people have never done it, and so it's just really learning and strengthening that pathway of coming out of shock and activation and back to settling. So that's a really key thing. Another one is to keep it, to do it in small bits. That fight or flight energy, if you're coming out of freeze, like I say, that there's so much there, there's so much energy that gets mobilised to keep us alive, and you need to come back out in small amounts that are digestible, because it was too big to begin with, and so it's too big now to do all at one time. You have to do it in little bits, otherwise you just get like thrown back into the freeze straight away, because it's too much for your system. So yeah, so it's little small and slow bits, and kind of moving between something that's resourcing and enjoyable and something that feels a bit more challenging, and just going back and forwards in like little bits is really helpful. So there's lots of techniques and different things that I'll go through in the workshops or in sessions. I might share some of them in future videos, but I'm not going to go into them now. So that is a basic rundown there. As you can imagine, that's the simple bit, and there's a lot more there to unpack. And also, you know, all of our bodies are individual, all of our systems are unique as well, and so there's also learning your system and the way that it responds and the way to navigate that. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to connect with you in other ways going forwards.